it's going to be illegal to be Native again. And if you watch the State of the Union...
Okay, now, I don't know where you're getting your information at. I don't know who you've been talking to. But all of this is propaganda. This is fear-mongering propaganda. None of this of what you're saying is true. And let me point out some key points to where it's not going to happen. Everything that you said is not going to happen. The only way it can happen to tribes or native people is if, one, you live in a state that is a conservative state. That's when you're going to be met with a lot of dilemmas, a lot of obstacles, a lot of problems. But what people choose to forget most of the time is that the Supreme Court has already ruled out and threw out that petition of Trump challenging our birthright citizenship. So that's done and over. He can't challenge that again. He could try, but they're just going to keep throwing it at him like, nope, rejected. And another thing, too, is what we also need to remember is that a lot of tribes are treaty tribes and some of them are not treaty tribes. So a lot of us are going to have a little more benefit from not being a treaty tribe, opposed to other tribes being a treaty tribe. There's just so much that you're talking about that you have no idea how any of the tribal foundations work. You have no recollection or can recall anything that has to do with our sovereignty and our relationship that is government to government, but,
protected by law.
Protected by law. Like, this is all constitutional. So no matter what he's trying to challenge or what the United States government is trying to challenge, they can't, because we are constitutionally protected. That includes our belief systems. That includes our right to practice. That includes to our relationship to the land. So please stop, because this is not okay. What you're trying to send out there, this is not okay. It's fear-mongering. It's propaganda. Cut the shit. Of course I live on my ancestral lands. Where do you think my house is located? I come from a reservation that has 12 different bands on one reservation. I think I know what I'm talking about. We can't change what our tribe has already done in the past. What you need to understand, the problem is not me telling you what to do. You could do whatever the hell you want, frankly. But what you need to understand is when you start fear-mongering your own people, you are setting yourself up for failure and paranoia and making the wrong moves instead of making the right moves in order to protect your sovereignty. Now, like I said in the comment also, there's a difference between federal laws and state laws. No tribe has to comply with any state law unless your council decides to pass a policy or law that mirrors a state law. That's up to you guys. That's not no state law you have to comply with. So whatever these people do outside the reservation, it's got nothing to do with you. What you need to pay attention to is the Supreme Court, federal laws, and anything that has to do with our constitutional rights. That's it. Everything else doesn't matter. The only thing that tribes need to do is probably close their reservations. That's probably the safest thing to do for the next 4 years. And also another safest thing to do is to start enrolling a lot of our relatives who are Mexican, or at least finding out their connectivity to any indigenous nation in the Americas. That's what people need to do. People need to start protecting each other and opening up their enrollment office. Like, that's what needs to happen. Because the more numbers you have on your reservations, the more protection you're going to get from the federal government too. And it's not just funding or the availability to get grants and funding, but to have more vocalization for your people. That's what your people need to do. I mean, our tribe is making similar changes too. We have been talking about it for a couple years now because we knew bad things were going to start happening because of this election. I mean, you know, we're getting to the point where our tribe has voted on a plan to where we could all vote, every single one of us, without a district, without voting in district, about anything the federal government has say over us. We could approve it, we could deny their request. We're lucky to have that kind of ability, because I know not a lot of tribes do, as you said. But in order to get better and understanding what sovereignty is, I think you should pick up some books on Stephen Newcomb. And if you can, like, enroll in some classes at the National Congress of American Indians in order to get a better understanding on how to govern your people. Like, this isn't something to be scared of. People don't need to be scared. People need to have that Boston energy. We do. That's the only way we're going to survive anything, is when we start standing our ground, being stubborn, and tell people who you are, just like you are to me in this comment. You're directing this to the wrong person. And everything that woman said, that Fox, that's fear-mongering. That's something that nobody needs, and everything she says is baseless. There's no foundation. There's nothing.